Okay, so stick with me for a second here. I want you to mentally transport yourself into the inner sanctum of the Disney corporate office.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we are talking Burbank. The Seven Dwarfs building, polished mahogany, aggressively air-conditioned rooms, and people in suits that probably cost more than my car.
Definitely more than your car.
Right. And in this room, for the 20th anniversary of one of their biggest intellectual properties ever, someone stands up, clicks a slide on a presentation, and pitches a single word.
I know exactly what word you're talking about.
The Handiverse.
It is, it's a pun that makes you want to roll your eyes and high-five the marketing intern all at the exact same time. It's so bad, it's almost...
I really think if the marketing department hadn't landed on that specific pun, this whole project might have stayed in the maybe pile.
You think so?
I do. It feels like the entire strategy hinged on whether they could make Hannah rhyme with anniversary. But look, we aren't just here to dissect dad jokes today.
We have actual news.
Breaking news that has sent a very specific demographic of women into an tailspin. Miley Cyrus is reprising her role as Hannah Montana for a 20th anniversary special on...
And on the surface, sure, this looks like a really fun, nostalgic reunion. It's glitter, it's a blonde wig, it's childhood memories.
Exactly.
But if you scratch that glittery surface, you find something much darker and honestly much more complex.
Which is exactly why we're doing this.
Right, because this isn't just a singer putting on a costume. This represents a fundamental shift in how former child stars and the massive corporations that built them handle legacy content.
So welcome to the deep dive. We've combed through the breakdown from the Pop Culture Crisis team, we've analyzed specific promotional materials released by Disney, and we've looked at the historical timeline of Miley's very public, very complicated...
And our mission today is to explore that gap, the gap between what fans expect and what corporations actually deliver. We're going to look at the life cycle of the Disney star, from creation to the inevitable rebellion to the monetization of that rebellion.
And perhaps most importantly, we're going to try and answer a question that came up repeatedly in our research. Why has Arrested Development...
That inability to grow up.
Right. Why has that become such a marketable asset?
It's a heavy question disguised in sequence.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into the announcement itself. The hook, the handversary. Disney drops this teaser trailer, and if you haven't seen it, let me paint for you. It is incredibly nondescript.
Very.
You literally just see a figure stepping out of a limo.
Which, let's be honest, is classic second unit photography.
Break that down for people who aren't huge film nerds.
So in production, you have your main unit. That's where you have your stars, your director, your expensive talent.
The people who cost a lot of money to keep on set.
Exactly. Then you have the second unit. They go out and shoot the establishing shot, hands opening doors, feet hitting the pavement, the car driving down the street. It's cheaper. It's faster. And crucially, you don't need the actual star to be there.
So the sources were super skeptical about this right off the bat. They pointed out that it might not even be Miley in that shot.
It probably isn't.
You get the limo out front, you get a body double, you shoot the legs stepping out. It's a tease in the truest sense of the word. It keeps the budget low and the mystery high.
But the promise accompanying the visual is what really matters. Miley Cyrus claims she will be, and I quote, taking the wig out of the vault.
The vault.
Now pay attention to that language, the vault.
It sounds like she's talking about the crown jewels or a nuclear launch code or something.
Exactly. It implies something precious, something protected. It elevates a prop from a children's show into an artifact of cultural heritage.
And her statement really leans into that reverence. She said, Hannah Montana will always be a part of who I am. She describes the show not just as a job she did as a kid, but as a shared experience that shaped her life.
Which is huge.
She talks about being thankful for the connection and proud that it still means so much.
And that is a significant pivot. If you look at the history of child stars, particularly from that Disney Channel era, the standard trajectory is to run as fast and as far away from the character as possible.
You're going for the hills.
Right. You want to be taken seriously as an adult artist, so you burn the bridges.
Yeah.
You mock the character. You distance yourself.
We saw it with Shia LaBeouf. We saw it with Britney to an extent. You basically have to kill the child star to be born as the adult artist.
Yes.
But here, Miley is completely bucking that trend. She is adopting it once again. She's expressing pride in the legacy. It feels like she's come full circle.
It does.
But, and here is where it gets really interesting for us, the execution of this return has left a lot of people scratching their heads.
Because there is a massive disconnect between the what we wanted and the what we got.
The expectation was pretty clear. The source material suggests that the target demographic, you know, the people who grew up with Hannah Montana, they wanted a concert, plain and simple.
Just play the music.
Yeah, they wanted to see Miley in the costume, wearing the wig, performing the old song. Best of both worlds, Nobody's Perfect, the hits. A classic concert format.
It's a simple request. It's essentially the Eras Tour model. Just play the hits, wear the outfit, everyone goes home happy.
Right.
But that is not what Disney's delivering.
No,
Yep.
not at all. Instead, we are getting what the sources describe as a glorified interview.
A sit-down.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
being billed as a sit-down conversation. Sure, they promise iconic moments and never-before-seen footage, maybe a look behind the scenes, but at its core, this isn't a Hannah Montana concert. It's a talk show segment.
Well, it's cheaper to produce, let's be real.
Oh, absolutely.
A full concert production with choreography rehearsals, lighting, sound design, that is a massive undertaking. A sit-down interview requires 2 chairs and a camera crew.
And it's safer for Miley, too. She doesn't have to try to inhabit the physicality of a teenager from 20 years. She can just speak about the teenager.
Exactly, but this is where the demographic targeting becomes fascinatingly specific, and honestly where a lot of the controversy lies.
Yeah.
Because the interview is hosted by Alex Cooper.
The host of Call Her Dad.
Correct. And for a lot of listeners, that name might cause a bit of a double take when used in the same sentence as Disney Plus Special and Hannah Montana.
It is a bit of a culture clash, isn't it? I mean, Call Her Daddy is known for, well, let's say very adult topics.
Very adult.
It started as a barstool sports podcast. It was raunchy. It was explicit. It was literally known for giving advice on specific bedroom technique. And now the host is helming the 20th anniversary of a children's show.
It seems completely dissonant, but if you look at the marketing logic, it is actually incredibly precise.
How so?
Well, marketing is about identifying the dominant source of media for your specific target audience. The sources we looked at describe this as a pipeline.
Break down this pipeline, because to me it just looks like a weird mismatch.
Okay, think about the Zoomettes, the Gen Z women.
Okay.
The girl who was 10 years old watching Hannah Montana in 2006 is now roughly 28 or 30 years old. What is that 30-year-old woman consuming today?
Not the Disney Channel.
Exactly. She isn't watching Saturday morning cartoons. She's listening to podcasts.
Okay, that track.
And who is the queen of podcasts for that specific demographic? Alex Cooper. She signed that massive deal with Spotify for a reason. She has cornered the market on the exact women Disney needs to reach.
So Disney isn't marketing to children at all. They're marketing strictly to the adults who used to be children.
Precisely. The sources noted that 5 years ago, there wasn't really a dominant female media figure for this demographic in the same way.
Not with that kind of reach.
Right. Now there is. So Disney looks at the data and says, where are the Hannah Montana fans hanging out now? And the answer is they're listening to Alex Cooper. It's basically an ETF of the female demographic. You buy Alex Cooper, you get the audience.
That makes total sense on a spreadsheet. We need eyes. She has eyes. Let's buy the conduit.
Yep.
But emotionally, it feels weird. The sources were pretty critical of Cooper actually describing her as an obnoxious interviewer and mentioning that there is a real sense of call her daddy setting.
And that's the risk right there. You are taking a beloved, innocent childhood icon and filtering it through a very modern, a very adult and somewhat polarizing medium.
Yeah, it feels like a pivot that doesn't quite land for everyone. It highlights that the audience has grown up, but maybe in a way that clashes the back to us.
It's like mixing oil and water.
Or mixing Disney sparkles with whatever the vibe of Call Her Daddy is. It just feels like a jarring transition. But, you know, speaking of jarring transitions, we have to talk about Miley herself.
We do.
Because her journey back to this wig hasn't exactly been a straight line.
No, it has been a winding road, to say the least. A war of attrition, almost.
There's this specific moment the sources brought up a flashback to March 2019.
I remember the tweet vividly. This was deep in what we might call the rebellion phase.
Right. She's wearing the wig, the actual physical Hannah Montana wig, but the caption, oh boy. She wrote the best of both worlds. You take an upper and a downer at a time.
Subtlety was not the goal there.
Not at all. And didn't she also mention taking a little Molly and smoking a joint?
Yes, she did. She was explicitly linking the character to heavy drug. At the time, it felt like she was just burning the house down.
Yeah, the sources described it as sullying the legacy of a children's character. She was taking this wholesome image and essentially graffitiing all over it.
It was a massive middle finger to Disney.
Yeah.
She was saying, I am not your product anymore.
It had to be a branding nightmare for Disney at the time.
Oh, surely. But from an artist's perspective, it was a declaration of independence. She was shouting, I am not this girl anymore. She had to defile the altar to show she wasn't worshiping. But here is the nuance that I think is so important in the source material. Even in the midst of that rebellion, even when she was making jokes about uppers and downers, she was incredibly protective of the physical asset itself.
You mean the wig?
The wig. The sources tell this great story about Kim Kardashian.
Oh, I love it.
Apparently, Kim wanted to buy the Hannah Montana wig. I mean, the Kardashians collect everything, right? They buy Marilyn Monroe's dresses, Michael Jackson's jackets.
They are like the dragons of pop culture hoarding gold in Calabasas.
Exactly. But Miley refused. She wouldn't sell it. She said, if anyone wants to ever use that wig, it's Miley Cyrus, and it won't be handed over to anyone else.
And then she added that kicker.
She did. She said, especially someone known for ruining vintage items.
Ouch. That is a direct shot at the Marilyn Monroe dress at the Met Gala.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But it shows that even when she was trashing the reputation of the character, she maintained ownership.
Right.
She was saying, this is mine. I can make fun of it. I can corrupt it, but you cannot have it.
That's a really powerful distinction, actually. It's kind of like saying, I can talk trash about my family, but...
Precise. And that ownership is what allows her to come back now. If she had sold out, if she would let the character become just another artifact in someone else's collection, this return wouldn't have the same weight.
She kept the keys to the kingdom even when she was spray painting the walls.
Exactly.
So now she's cleaned up the walls, she's unlocked the door, and she's inviting us back in. But this brings us creepiness factor that our sources discuss.
The creepiness factor.
Yeah, because for some people, this reunion doesn't feel like a warm hug. It feels unsettling.
The phrase arrested development came up a lot in the analysis.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, we aren't talking about the TV show with the banana stand.
Yeah.
We mean the psychological state.
Right, the idea that we are stuck. The sources argue that this reunion signals that both the stars like Miley and the fans millennials and Gen Z cannot move forward from their childhood.
It's a pretty harsh critique, but let's unpack it. We are seeing a generation that is dealing with a lot of economic and social instability right now.
Oh.
Housing's expensive. The job market is weird. The future just feels uncertain. And when the future looks scary, the past looks like a safe harbor. So we retreat to the things that made us feel safe when we were 10.
Hannah Montana, the Disney.
Exactly.
But the sources point out that this isn't just a natural psychological reaction. It's being fed to us. It's being actively manufactured.
That's the key takeaway. Everything millennials and Gen Z loved as children was created by corporations. We didn't grow up on folk tales told around a fire. We grew up on intellectual property owned by publicly traded companies.
Which means our childhood memories are literally assets on a balance.
Correct. And a company cannot let an asset sit dormant. It is, as the sources put it, a fool's errand to think a corporation would leave a property alone if it can make money.
Right.
Your nostalgia is a monetizable asset. They are mining your memories for quarterly profit.
That is deeply cynical, but completely undeniable. And there's a cycle. The sources broke down this thing called the Disney profit.
It's a three-phase model. And honestly, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Let's walk.
Phase one is creation. Profit from the child star at the beginning. You discover the talent, you build the show, you sell the lunchboxes, you make millions. This is the golden era.
Okay, phase one makes total sense. Then comes phase two.
Phase two is the bad phase. The star grows up, the pressure gets to them, they act out, they shave their head or tweet about drugs or have a very public breakdown.
A deep end.
Exactly. Often this breakdown is driven by the very pressure the company put on them in phase one. But during this phase, the company steps back. They ignore the culpability. They let the star take the heat alone.
They completely wash their hands of the monster they helped create.
Exactly. But here's the catch. They are still selling the rerun. They are still making money on the back end while the star is struggling.
Wow. And then after enough time has passed, we get to
phase three, the redemption. The star survives. They come out the other side. And the company realizes, hey, we can monetize the survival too. So they commission the reunion, the anniversary special, or the documentary.
The sources brought up Demi Lovato here, which is a perfect example.
It really is.
She did that documentary on Hulu, which is owned by Disney, about the severe difficulties of being a child star.
Exactly. So think about that loop for a sec. Disney makes money creating the star. Disney makes money while the star struggles by selling the back catalog. And then Disney makes money selling the story of how they essentially ruined the star's childhood.
It's an ethical Ouroboros. They are just eating their own tail and charging us a monthly subscription fee to watch it happen.
It's a brilliant business model if you can completely detach the morality from it. They profit from the trauma they help manufacture.
When you put it that way, it really does feel a little gross. It feels like we are participants in something exploitative just by hitting play.
We are part of the cycle.
But let's pivot to the mechanics of this, because it's not just about the ethics, it's about the execution. How do you actually bring a show like Hannah Montana back?
This is the frozen in time versus modernized debate, and it is a minefield for creators right now.
The sources brought up the Scrubs revival as a cautionary tale for this?
Yeah, they did. So there is talk of a Scrubs revival, and it's being described by critics as millennial cringe.
Millennial cringe.
Right. The criticism is that the show is trying to come back exactly as it was, but the world has changed. Medicine has changed. Humor has definitely changed. If you bring it back frozen in time, it feels uncanny. Feels like a zombie.
But then you have what they called the white collar hypothesis.
Yes, this is a really funny point in the source material. The source mentioned that for a show like White Collar, the fans actually want the zombie.
They do.
They want the characters to still use BlackBerries and just not explain it. Just pretend the last 10 years didn't happen.
That's pure escapism. Take me back to 2010 and just keep me there.
Exact. But here's the problem with Hannah Montana. It was a show specifically for children. It wasn't Friends or The Office. It was for kids.
Right.
So bringing it back is impossible. If you have a 30-year-old Miley Cyrus acting like the teen pop star Hannah Montana doing the exact same plots, it's not nostalgic. It's just depressing.
It would be like watching adults play dress up in a really sad way, like an SNL skit that goes on.
Right, but if you try to update it for the current year, if you make Hannah Montana an influencer dealing with TikTok drama and paying taxes, it becomes incredibly awkward. It loses the magic.
So you are basically stuck. You can't go back and you can't really move forward.
Which perfectly explains why they settled on the talk show format. Sidesteps the entire problem. They don't have to write a script where Hannah deals with the mortgage. They can just have Miley talk about Hannah.
It is the safe play. It protects the asset while still capitalizing on the anniversary. And speaking of protecting assets, we have to talk about the vault.
Yeah, this is the classic Disney move.
I swear I still have PTSD from those commercials in the 90s.
Own it on VHS before it disappears forever.
Yes. You felt this actual panic as a kid. Like, if I don't buy Bambi right now, I will literally never.
Exactly. They drove up demand by artificially limiting supply. The bean counters at Disney have known how to manipulate our nostalgia for decades.
And this Handversary is just the modern evolution of that strategy.
It is. They let the property sit dormant just long enough for us to miss it, and then they crack open the vaults. Artificial scarcity applied directly to our memory.
It really makes you wonder if there is any integrity left in art, or if it's all just inventory management. Is there anyone who resists this, or did everyone just sell out?
The sources provided a really strong counterexample here, and it's one that I think resonates with a lot of people. Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, the holy grail of artistic integrity. Bill Watterson.
Bill Watterson. He is the anti-Disney in this scenario. He completely refused to merchandise. No plush toys, no Saturday morning cartoons, no bed sheets. He famously felt that turning Hobbes into a doll would literally destroy the magic of the character.
Because Hobbes is real to Calvin, but a stuffed toy to everyone else.
Exactly. Now, if you sell the doll, you confirm he's just a toy. You break the reality of the art, you cheapen the philosophical bond between the boy and the tiger, just for the sake of selling a piece of polyester.
That is such a profound artistic stance. And he left millions of dollars on the table, hundreds of.
But that level of integrity is effectively extinct today. In the modern media landscape, properties don't just die or end. They get passed down.
Yeah.
They get acquired.
Yeah.
They go to family estates or corporate boards who have much less emotional attachment to the work and see only the asset value.
The sources mention the rings of power here as a stark contrast.
Right. A cynical reboot that some argue poisons the well. When you take a beloved world like Tolkien's world and stretch it out just to fill content quotas for a streaming service, you risk diluting what made it special in the first place.
You are trading long-term legacy for short-term subscription growth.
Precisely. It's content as utility. We need a fantasy show to compete with Game of Thrones, so go buy the rights to the biggest one you can find.
And that leads us right back to Miley, because she seems to be trying to thread this impossible needle. She wants to honor the legacy. She wants to protect the asset, the wig, but she's also willingly participating in this corporate machine.
She is a participant, but she's trying to do it on her own terms.
It's hard.
Very hard.
Yeah.
And to her credit, she has navigated it better than most. She went from the Disney darling to the rebel to the legacy act. She has survived.
Yeah, she has.
But the Handversary is a stark reminder that she is still tied to the structure that built. She can never truly escape the House of Mouse.
So let's synthesize all of this for the listener. We have an announcement that uses a terrible pun. We have a format that is a bit of a bait and switch an interview instead of a concert.
Right.
We have a host, Alex Cooper, that represents a jarring demographic shift. And underneath it all, we have the cold, hard economics of nostalgia.
It's a very complex cocktail. The Handversary is a mix of genuine fan gratitude because people do actually love this character and cynical corporate strategy.
It is a way to boost Q1 subscription numbers for Disney Plus using the emotional connections we formed 20 years ago.
And the reality of the special is that it's safe. It's a talk show segment disguised as a character return. It allows everyone to feel good without risking the embarrassment of trying to recreate a children's show for adults.
It completely avoids the millennial cringe by not really trying to be the show at all. It's more of a meta commentary on the show.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Maybe you grew up with Hannah, or maybe you're just watching this massive nostalgia industry explode around you.
I think it raises a really provocative question for you to chew on after this is over. We often think of nostalgia as something warm and fuzzy, a celebration.
Yeah, a comfort blanket.
But if our nostalgia is just an asset on a balance sheet,
Right.
something that is manipulated, timed, and sold back to us, at what point does participating in these reunions stop being a celebration of the past and start being a hindrance to our own growth?
That is the arrested development piece right there.
Exactly. Are we looking back because we want to celebrate, or are we looking back because we are genuinely afraid to look forward?
Wow.
And are companies like Disney paying to keep us looking backwards simply because it's profitable for them?
Are we hiding in the adversary because the real world is just too much to handle right now?
It's entirely possible.
Man, those are some deep thoughts for a show about a pop star with a secret identity.
Well, the deepest waters are often found in the kiddie pool.
I love that. I really do. Well, whether you are tuning in for the adversary or keeping your own wig locked safely in the vault, thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.